Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Throwing Away Rel. At my 34 male wits end with my 32 female girlfriend, she has absolutely no basic life skills. I'm at my absolute wits end with my girlfriend. We've been together for 7 years. For the first 3, it was on and off, but I never really dated anyone else seriously since I met her. I was her first serious, possibly only boyfriend. Other than the issue at hand, I'm content with her. We like the same things, mostly. She's affectionate, attractive, etc. We moved in together 3 years ago. Our big arguments after moving in a few years ago were about her complete disregard for any household chores. She would leave food rotting on the counters. I had pictures of food with mold growing off of it and onto the counter, and the actual finish on the counter being stripped off when I peeled off the mold. She didn't take the garbage out once for the first year we lived together. Never swept, never cleaned the bathroom, never mopped. I ended up having to do all those things. She rarely did the dishes, etc. She only did any of those things if I ended up screaming at her. Asking politely wouldn't work. Strenuously asking, practically yelling, none of it. She would only do stuff after I was literally screaming, and then it was a half-assed job, but at least it would get done. Eventually, after a threat of breakup, she started doing most of those things. Again, half-assed, but at least she was doing them. It was like a switch flipped on in her head and she realized it shouldn't take her boyfriend screaming at her before doing basic crap. Maybe it's because we've been talking about having kids fairly soon or just getting older, but I realized something. She has no effing clue how to do a ton of basic life tasks. It wasn't that she was lazy after moving in, so she didn't clean the bathroom. It was that she had no effing idea how. It wasn't that she was half-assing things. It was that she was making awful attempts without any idea of where to really even start. The past month has been particularly awful. I realized she doesn't know how to do the dishes. She'll literally run something under the faucet and just run her hands over it a couple of times. Doesn't know how to use a dishwasher. She tried filling it with regular detergent. Doesn't know how to cook. Example, if she wants pasta, she fills a frying pan with water and tries cooking the half-submerged noodles. Doesn't know how to do laundry. She'll dump 1/8 of a jumbo-sized detergent container in, sets it to the smallest load setting, and then fill it to the brim with clothes. She has no clue how to clean a tub, toilet, or sink, like none. It's like watching a 12-year-old try to do these things for the first time. The part that is infuriating me though is that she refuses to accept help. I'm not being condescending about it. I try throwing out subtle hints like, you only need to use a half cupful of laundry detergent, anything else is a waste, etc. Sometimes we'll talk about cooking or something, and I'll mention pasta will cook better if it's in a pot with plenty of water circulation, etc. But no matter what avenue I take, she gets hostile and again reacts like a 12-year-old. She basically pulls the "I'm not immature, you're immature, ha ha ha" type argument. It is absolutely ruining my feelings towards her. The past week, she let a mini fridge I had let her use overfrost to the point it broke. I didn't know that was even possible. Overloaded the washing machine to the point that the belt snapped on it and left soup in a pressure cooker for over a week, with the cooker off, until it was rotting. I'm in grad school and I have about 90 hours of work per week, and then all this stuff at home just piles up, but she doesn't care. She just keeps breaking, ruining, wrecking things. The washing machine thing was today, and she tried saying, "Oh, it's always smoked since the day we moved in." Spoiler, it just started doing that after the 8th time in the past 2 months she's overfilled it. I lost it. I just snapped. I grabbed her shoulders and started screaming, "Take responsibility for something! For once in your damn life, learn from a mistake and stop blaming everyone around you! Take responsibility for something, just effing take responsibility for something for once in your effing life!" I had to walk away because for the first time in my life ever, I thought I might actually hit someone. Sorry for the novel here, but this is awful. It's like she's a completely different person when it comes to this stuff, and it's destroying the relationship. Wow, OP, first of all, I understand the frustration, but snapping like that, grabbing her by the shoulders and screaming at her is definitely not the way. Good thing you walked away or it'd be a totally different post. The thing is, You need to apologize for that. Now, regarding your girlfriend, she's a 32-year-old woman who doesn't know how to do basic things, right? Well, maybe there's a few explanations for that. Maybe nobody ever taught her. Maybe she has some sort of learning disability. I don't know. The thing is that screaming at her is not gonna help her get in the mood to actually want to learn any of these things. Now, you've told us that you have tried to hint things like, you shouldn't do this, do that. What about doing things with her so that she sees you do them? Maybe you could turn it into a couples activity to actually try to get over the friction that you feel because she can't do all these things, and eventually she'll learn to do them and then she can do them by herself. Now, apart from apologizing for snapping and screaming at her, I think you need to come clean regarding how you're feeling. It won't be an easy conversation for sure, but you gotta let her know how you feel, that it's frustrating you to the point that you're questioning the relationship. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Brazen Rum Raisin says, had to double check her age. She's 32. Now, I understand not everyone is raised well and doesn't get taught this stuff, but the fact that you have offered to show her how and she continues is a huge red flag. I assume you're chipping in too, so it's basic respect to do the same. And it's just how adults function. You can't contemplate a child with this person while she is like this. She doesn't sound ready to be living away from home, let alone be a mother. As for the way she responds, wow, it's all fun and games until you have CPS at your door because she can't take care of your children. I wouldn't be able to deal with this. It would be an ultimatum time for me. In fact, I would have given up long ago, but maybe now is the time you state, calmly, for the final time, that enough is enough. You don't have to put up with this, mate. Deleted says, okay, this may sound odd, but hear me out. I suspect that she may have a disability, maybe cognitive processing disorder or a learning disability or something, but this doesn't sound like just her being lazy and never having learned. Things like not being able to figure out how to cook noodles, even someone who has never learned that would be able to think their way through something basic like that. Do you know anything about her family, childhood, etc.? Did she finish elementary and high school? Does she have a job? What kind of work does she do? I think you need to sit down with her and ask her some hard questions. Tell her that her lack of ability and willingness to do simple tasks is really worrying you. Ask if she had to do chores growing up or was ever taught any of these life skills. If she just makes excuses and says you're just being mean, you may need to simply ask her if she has ever been diagnosed with a learning disorder. She needs to talk to someone because this isn't normal and her hostility and avoidance sounds like an embarrassment to me. Lonnie Lee 3 says, do you have any idea why she is like this? I've heard of people who grew up in wealthy families, waited on hand and foot, who didn't learn many basic life skills as children, but they did pick up those skills as an adult. Or is her impairment of some sort of physical damage? Did her nanny drop her on her head as a baby? Is her lack of life skills the reason she has only had one boyfriend? What do her parents think about this? I would cut her a lot of slack if she were willing to learn, but it seems that she is incapable of learning or even of understanding that she needs to learn how to do these things. I'm afraid your options will come down to 1. End the relationship, 2. Hire a maid to wait on her hand and foot and do the chores around the house. And if you have children, you will need to hire a full-time nanny. Additional information from OP's comments. I guess I didn't notice her lack of life skills in the beginning because we went out a lot or hung out at my place. That's my best guess anyway. I mean, I guess I had assumptions like an adult will know how to do dishes. It's baffling because outside of this, she's educated, successful in her career, and well-traveled. It's bizarre, really. And when we were at my place, I just did the dishes myself after a meal, and I had roommates who kept the place clean as well, so there wasn't much for her to do. At this point, my attempts to help her are usually born out of frustration. I was patient at first, but for quite a while now, it's been just exasperation driving me. Also, it's not like I woke up one day, saw a banana peel rotting on the counter, and put her head through a window. I asked directly but politely, no less than a dozen times if she would start doing more to keep the place clean, with specific examples of how she could do that. Part of me wonders sometimes if in a year I'm going to look back and think, she played me like a neffing fiddle. She's got 2 master's degrees, multiple promotions in the education field, and been to a dozen countries. She's a very smart person. I'm starting to think the replies here mentioning a learning deficit or narrow field autism of some sort may be onto something. I mean, I worked with autistic individuals a long time ago, and it's crossed my mind before. She has definite hoarding tendencies. She misses inferences, hints, and subtleties with this stuff. I showed her one time how to use the washing machine, and then a week later it was like she forgot. And when I would try and talk to her about these things in just a frustrated manner, not screaming like before I got to this point, you could see her sort of look down and almost curl up, even though she was still standing. She wouldn't even reply. Alright, well, I think the community brought up some good issues and questions for OP, and in the context that he gave us, he might be onto something there. So how about we move on with the update to see how this story ends? Thank you for all the replies. I noticed a split between just get rid of her and she may have a disability, try working with her if you want to put in the time. That's the same split I was wrestling with. I liked the advice about apologizing for yelling and saying that it didn't seem like she had ever been taught how to do a lot of these tasks. So that's what I started with, calmly apologizing for losing my temper lately about these issues. I said that, however, these were things that she was going to have to be doing if we were going to continue in a relationship, and most certainly if we were going to have children at some point in the future. She agreed softly, but again was just looking down and playing with her nail polish, no eye contact, and tears welling up in her eyes. She said that she wished, instead of focusing on what she had done wrong, if I would have asked how we could fix the washing machine, since that was the most recent disaster. I said I understood, but that the issue wasn't the washer, it was that she had been misusing it and other appliances and cleaning supplies, etc. for a long time and kept ignoring my requests that she do a better job. So I pressed a bit more and asked why she hadn't been doing any of the basic household responsibilities, and she said, I just forget or I don't want to. I asked if she understood that it wasn't fair to me that I had been doing 97% of the cleaning and upkeep and had to take time out of my day and week every time she broke an appliance or clogged a sink, etc. She agreed and said that she understood it wasn't fair for one person to be doing all the work. Still, there was a disconnect. It was like she didn't understand that it wasn't one person. It was me that was having to do all the work. I then tried asking if she felt like she had trouble or a deficit with holding on to procedures for these types of things, and she got really sharp saying, I don't have a disability, with a lot of emphasis. I'm actually more convinced now that there's some sort of disability there. So then I asked how she wanted to go about learning how to do these things, and she seemed baffled. I asked why she hadn't Googled or YouTubed some of this stuff, and her reply was, did I have someone ever show me growing up? No, not at all, but something like laundry seems simple. I should just be able to do it without learning. What I wish I'd followed up with was asking why she didn't ask for help with stuff after the first few times I pointed out she was breaking things, but oh well. So I suggested, based on replies here, that the next time I do these tasks, she'd do them with me, and she said it would help if we could make a schedule about when to do these things. She implied she has no idea how often a lot of these things are supposed to be done. I did remember at that point that a bunch of times, if I'm mopping or something, she'll come out of the bedroom or whatever, and when I would come back after taking a break, another room would be mopped. I think she was trying to see how I did it. So I'm going to go with that route. For the time being, show her how to do these things a couple of times, calmly. I did tell her in no uncertain terms though that this was the last chance, and that I didn't expect her to be perfect right off the bat. But if by Christmas time she was dodging these things, or refusing to clean with me, or make an effort to learn how to do these things, then I was unequivocally done. And that given the chances I had given in the past, and the effort I'm going to put over these next 6 or so weeks, that I could do so with a clear conscience and not a second thought. She agreed that this was fair. I honestly feel this as about a 50-50 shot of working. I'm about 80% convinced that she does have a learning disability. Her parents were absolute train wrecks as well. Her mom is an absolute slob, and I have no doubt my girlfriend got exactly 0 lessons on how to do most of this stuff, and probably imprinted on her as being what normal looks like. Also, for the people assuming I just started screaming at her from day one, that did not happen. This has built up over the last year or more as my frustration has grown. Lastly, I know most of the threats here only display the worst of some partners, but she really is great in pretty much every other area. It's like a firewall between domestic housekeeping and the rest of her life, which is why I've tolerated this for so long. Alright, well, good for you, OP. You had the conversation you needed to have, you set up a plan, and you've also set certain boundaries if the plan doesn't work out. So here's hoping the both of you the very best with your plan, and hopefully she'll start contributing more to the household. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. Now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Meowschwitzenthere. Want me to work for my interview? Will do. Disclaimer, nothing in this post is legal advice. I'm a lawyer, but not your lawyer. Please do not take legal advice from internet randos. Background, I mostly work in a niche-ish area of law called discovery. Basically, when someone starts a legal proceeding, each party gets to ask other parties for certain documents relevant to the case. Sometimes parties refuse to produce certain documents because of reasons like attorney-client privilege. I argue why my client's documents are probably withheld and the other side's documents are improperly withheld. One day I see a job board post from a local law firm looking for a research and writing position with the required experience in discovery disputes. This raises a red flag for two reasons. First, local law firms do not need to hire full-time research and writing people because more than 95% of that firm's cases are very similar. A personal injury firm normally only handles personal injury cases, so keeping a full-time researcher is not worthwhile when all your cases are basically the same. When these local firms need something researched, they either just do it themselves or pay someone else for a few hours of work. Second, this local firm hired a friend of mine by telling them, "Start here, work hard, and move up to senior associate in a few years," before promptly letting him go after a few busy months. I go ahead and send my resume over and get scheduled for an interview pretty quickly. During the interview, I gave them a fairly high salary ask, which they agreed to almost instantly. It's a trap.jpg. Then the partner hits me with the following. "We ask all candidates to provide a writing sample before the final interview." To which I respond, "Sure thing, I thought I attached one to the application, but let me grab my phone and double check." He then says, "Oh, not that writing sample, that is too generic for evaluation. Here is a legal question that we want you to research." So, of course, I replied that I'm more than happy to do that at an hourly rate. To which he says, "It should be fairly quick work. No other candidate has asked us for writing sample compensation, and this makes it seem like you won't be a team player. If you aren't interested in the position, just tell us." So I tell him I'd think about it. So I go home and search a couple of local court dockets, and wouldn't you know it, this firm is involved in a case with a hearing set on exactly the discovery question they want me to produce a free writing sample on. Hehehe, lizard gif. I send an email back saying, "Sure thing, I will make the writing sample as long as it guarantees consideration for the research and writing position." They say yes. I write a fantastic memo and sent it in. A few weeks go by and I email asking for an update on the final interview. No response. Then I check that court docket and wouldn't you know it, they straight up copied-pasted parts of my memo in the response. I send a demand letter for payment plus fees. No response. I file a lawsuit for fraud. Oh baby, then I got a response. A frothy, salty response. Frothalty. I got called some names. They went on and on about how I was going to lose, and after I lost, they were going to countersue me. I said, "Sounds good. Can't wait to lose. I guess you did hire a full-time research and writing attorney." I mean, it would be like Baby Down Frolic's Easy to Win if you never hired for that position. Actually, it would be even easier if you never even had a final interview for the spot. I'm sure you weren't that dumb though. I got the check 30 days later. Haha, very clever, OP. You definitely played them well. Thank you for sharing. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you. from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.